Jeff Kaplan tells gamers they need to shut the fuck up instead of criticizing games they don't play. This is a pretty funny article. Jeff Kaplan, you know, he was the director of Overwatch for years. He's a lot of the reason, at least he's credited for why Overwatch was in a good state for a long time. But, yeah, he's been going off the rails a little bit after he came clean on, I believe it was Lex Friedman's podcast. So we're going to dive into this article. We're going to read all of it so you get all the context and know exactly what's happening on this story. Former Overwatch director and longtime Blizzard developer Jeff Kaplan is facing backlash after telling gamers to shut the fuck up. I imagine that was Jeff Kaplan when he was saying that. If they criticize games that they haven't played. Kaplan, who spent nearly 2 decades at Blizzard and became one of the most recognizable developers in the games industry during his time leading Overwatch, made the remarks during a March 14th Twitch stream while playing his upcoming project, The Legend of California. I've never heard of that. I have no idea what that even is. During the nearly 10-hour broadcast, Kaplan addressed the growing culture of online criticism surrounding new releases and took particular aim at players who comment on games without actually playing them. Hey, I've done that before. He's talking about me. I understand being upset. I get voicing your opinion, Kaplan said, but like, if a game comes out and you don't want to play it and have never played it, shut the fuck up. No one cares. Like, we don't need to hear that you weren't into it. Okay? So they don't want to hear any criticism. They only want to hear the positive feedback. I've noticed this. Why are game developers like the most sensitive of like any industry of all time? Like you don't, I don't know. I've never heard like a writer coming out and say, shut up, don't criticize my book. If you haven't read the whole thing, don't you dare. Like no one does that. They're just like, hey, thanks for all the fans who like the book and then move on. But game developers apparently can't do that. They have to constantly be antagonistic and constantly attack their potential audience, their fans. They're just always antagonistic towards gamers. Gamers, I think it's time we rise up. Enough of this. We can't take this abuse any longer. All right, I need to stop being an idiot and actually read this article. Kaplan went on to argue that the current environment surrounding gaming discourse rewards negativity. It's not difficult to shit on something, he added. Apparently, it takes tons of courage to say, hey, I actually like the thing. Well, it's not very difficult to understand why that is. Because a lot of games these days, especially, you know, big public games that are announced at the Game Awards, maybe by, I don't know, Jeff Keighley. What game am I talking about? Maybe High Guard? Maybe these aren't just like few and far between. This is pretty commonplace for the industry now. There's a lot of shit being thrown at us, and I'm allowed to look at it, say, hey, that looks like shit. I'm not going to play that shit, and you guys probably also shouldn't play that shit. But Jeff Kaplan says you're not allowed to do that because you didn't buy the game and you didn't play the game, so how could you possibly know it's shit? Well, it's the same reason why, you know, this is like an old analogy. I think I heard Asmongold say this, but like if I see a plate full of shit, I'm just going to say, hey, that looks like shit, and I'm not going to eat the shit, and then throw it aside and tell other people that it's shit and not to eat the shit. You know, it's pretty simple. It's really that simple. It's the like judging a book by its cover. Judging a book by its cover is actually a good thing. This is just like basic pattern recognition. This like boils down to human biology, right? Like you see something and you perceive it as a threat or not. This is like instinctively boiled into every human being. So to say, hey, don't do that, and if you don't like it, just keep your mouth shut. No, fuck you. Jeff Kaplan's comments raised questions about player feedback. Kaplan's remarks quickly sparkled debate across gaming communities, while many pointing out that consumers discussing games, even games they choose not to buy, is a normal and often necessary part of the entertainment ecosystem. Yeah, and just any market for any entertainment product in general. But again, for some reason, game developers are like the most sensitive, the most entitled of all the entertainment industry, which is saying a lot because Hollywood exists. Players routinely evaluate trailers, gameplay demonstrations, developer interviews, and early reviews when deciding whether to purchase a title. For many consumers, discussing those impressions publicly is part of how the gaming community shares information and holds developers accountable. Yeah, I mean, that's all true. Critics of Kaplan's comments argue that telling potential customers to stay silent unless they buy a game undermines that process. After all, players are expected to spend $60 or $70 before offering any opinion at all. Developers would effectively be insulated from early criticism. Well, that's exactly what the developers want. So of course he's going to say that. Because from his position, he would love it if gamers weren't allowed to criticize it at all unless they spend $70 on the game. He would love that. But of course, that's not reality. That's not the world we live in. We live in a world where people can say things. People can have opinions. And the crazy thing is, people are actually allowed to have an opinion on anything for any reason that they want. Because that's just it. It's an opinion. Different people have different opinions on different things for different reasons. And they are allowed to have any opinion they want for any reason they want. I know it's crazy, but that's the world we live in. All right, so sorry, where was I? Would effectively be insulated from early criticism. Yep, something that runs counter to the way modern gaming communities function. Exactly. Gaming has long thrived on passionate discussion. This is another thing that bugs me a lot. It's like a lot of times these people, like myself, when I get upset, it's because I love video games. Like, this is what I do with all my free time. I play video games all the time, whenever I have free time. Hell, even when I'm working from home, I have RuneScape open on my other computer, and I'm clicking every 10 minutes to AFK Star Mine. I'm always gaming. So I love this. I'm very passionate about this. So yes, when I see the industry going to shit, when I see them trying to feed me this slop, I get upset. I get passionate. I get angry, and I voice my opinion, as everyone should. But Jeff Kaplan doesn't want you to do that. Jeff Kaplan just wants you to be a good little boy. And eat the slop and keep your mouth shut. That's what Jeff Kaplan wants. Gaming has long thrived on passionate discussion, whether it involves praising a beloved title or warning others about design choices that might turn players away. Yep. A shift in the relationship between developers and players. Kaplan built much of his reputation at Blizzard by cultivating a direct relationship with fans. During the early years of Overwatch, he regularly appeared in developer update videos where he spoke openly about balance changes, design decisions, and community feedback. I remember that. I played Overwatch back in its golden days. That approach helped establish him as one of the most recognizable and approachable figures in game development. In case you're wondering, I was a Reinhardt and Roadhog main. Those are the only two I played. I played a little Zarya, but pretty much just Reinhardt and Roadhog. But the tone of his recent comments suggests growing frustration within parts of the industry over increasingly critical nature of online gaming discourse. Yeah, because we're getting shoveled more shit than ever. So of course there's more backlash than ever. Like, that's what the gaming industry has been growing constantly. It's the biggest entertainment industry in the world, and it's not even close. So yeah, discourse is going to grow along with that. That's just how it is. Some developers have complained that social media amplifies negativity and encourages pile-ons when new games stumble out of the gate. Oh no, they're talking about High Guard, poor High Guard. If only those horrible gamers were criticizing it. It would have done so well. It was such a good game, but it was just negative fan people didn't even play the game. No, everyone saw that it was shit. They made fun of it because it was shit, and it failed and shut down because it was shit. And yeah, that was probably accelerated due to negative criticism, as it should be. That's word of mouth. It goes both ways, Jeff. It goes both ways, the good and the bad. Jeff Kaplan previously revealed pressure behind his Blizzard exit. I actually heard about this. This is actually really fucked up. Jeff Kaplan has also been usually candid in recent months about the pressures he faced during his time at Blizzard. In a recent interview, he revealed that one of the reasons he ultimately left the company involved intense internal pressure tied to financial performance of Overwatch. Yeah, they basically told him like he had to reach some quota or they were going to lay off a ton of his team and that it would all be his fault. At least that's what he said they told him. According to Kaplan, Blizzard leadership warned that if the game failed to meet certain revenue expectations, the company could potentially blame him for layoffs, affecting roughly 1,000 employees. The revelation offered a rare glimpse into the corporate pressures facing developers behind major franchises and may help explain some of the frustration Kaplan expressed during his recent Twitch stream. Yeah, I mean, that's just the corporate life. Like, it's stressful. It sucks. The higher ups, anyone above you, they will continue to mount responsibilities on you until you break. That is the corporate structure. It sucks, but that's just how it is when you're climbing the ladder. And that's what he had to deal with, and clearly it broke him. which sucks. I mean, I can actually empathize with this a lot. But I'm not going to get into my personal stuff. But yeah, I actually do empathize with that a lot. That does suck. But that doesn't excuse you for basically calling like half of gamers or telling them to shut the fuck up because they're not allowed to voice negative criticism. No, you're an idiot. Consumers still have the right to speak. While Kaplan's frustrations with online negativity may resonate with some developers, many players see his remarks as dismissive towards the very audience that ultimately determines whether a game succeeds. Gaming is a consumer-driven industry. Players decide what succeeds and what fails, and what direction the media moves in next. That means discussion, positive and negative, is unavoidable. Yeah, I mean, but that's what they want. They don't want any negative criticism. They want to just make their project and, you know, be surrounded in an echo chamber full of people telling them how good their project is. They don't keep giving us this. Like, imagine if Concord was just an echo chamber of, you know, I mean, not enough people played the game to keep it alive for longer than a week anyway. But imagine if you will, there were maybe 1,000 players. And they were all telling them, oh, this game's great. Concord, what a great game. Oh, I love these player designs. These big fat girls. I love playing as big fat girls in my first-person shooter fucking video game. And they didn't hear the other 99% of gamers saying, hey, this is gross and shit. Guess what? They'd probably have the wrong idea. Even if the game failed, they'd probably just be like, well, we got a lot of positive feedback. We'll just try that again. That's what the gamers really wanted, even though they didn't show up for it for some reason. No, that's obviously wrong. And Jeff Kaplan knows that's wrong. But, you know, being in his position that he was as a lead game dev, or I guess director, you know, he probably got really stressed out by all that negative criticism. So I can empathize to some extent, but he's still just being a fucking idiot. Consumers may choose not to play a game for any number of reasons: gameplay concerns, design philosophy, monetization practices, or even the tone of the marketing itself, or even the character designs, or even the disgusting, fat, ugly character designs. Talking about those concerns publicly has long been part of how players decide whether a title is worth their time and money. Kaplan's comments highlighted a growing tension between creators who feel overwhelmed by criticism and players who believe their voices are an essential part of the industry. And for many gamers, the idea that they should simply stay silent unless they purchase a product is unlikely to gain much traction. Yeah, I think it's unlikely to gain traction for some reason. I feel like that idea might not gain a lot of traction. In an industry built on passionate communities, debate about games, whether someone ends up playing them or not, isn't going away anytime soon. Yeah, 100%. This was a great article. Let's look at comments real quick. Oh, this is too long. I can't read that. God damn it. All right, these are like dangerously based. Not that I don't agree with them. But yeah, this was a really good article. Again, I empathize with his, you know, what he went through at Blizzard when he was the game director. And, you know, his higher up was telling him, hey, you better make this game better make this much money or we're going to lay off people and it's going to be your fault. Obviously, that sucks. Obviously, that shouldn't happen to anyone. Obviously, that's very stressful when that happens. But you deal with it. Because that's the job, you know? That's what happens when you end up in these kind of corporate ladder climbing positions. Again, they will just shovel shit on you until you break. That is what they do. They want to extract as much work out of you as possible for as little money as possible. So, ultimately, that's kind of what happened to Kaplan. And it seems like it broke him. And it gave him this really weird attitude towards gamers. It's like, dude, these are your customers. We're just trying to play good games. If a game is shit, guess what? We don't have to play the game to tell it's shit. There's a trailer. You know, we can look at the video game. We can just look at images. You know, we can look at the characters. We can look at YouTubers playing the game, reviewing the game. You know, sometimes they do early release footage, maybe limited to just certain people that they release it to, and you can look at that. There's so many ways to not even just judge a game by its cover, but to get into the game, to judge it before you even buy it at all. So it's just totally disconnected from reality. Jeff Kaplan, honestly, just I got a message for you. Shut the fuck up. Instead of criticizing how I criticize games. Unbelievable, Jeff Kaplan. But yeah, this is a good article. And I'll end the video there. Like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And thanks for watching. Peace.